All right, and now at long last, let's talk about Malcolm and Marie. So, all right, so I will just kind of do these synopsis for this if you don't mind, and you get your thoughts into my thoughts, right? So, I was, like since late last year we were here through the grapevine, like while we were all home, what I mean, wondering, what new movies were coming out. We were hearing talk about, this movie with John David Washington and Zendaya, you know what I mean, and they filmed this during quarantine, and it's supposed to be this romantic film, and from the jump you're like, all right, John and Zendaya, okay,
Right.
all right, okay, but I mean, like I know John to be, a really established actor, right? But Zendaya, mean, like I honestly missed out on Euphoria. I,
Right.
shame on me. I know it's a great show. And I know there were those couple episodes that came out around Christmas time, right? But yeah, that is on my to watch list, right? So not to worry. There was even an instance where I thought like her character was technically kind of similar to who she plays in that show, but we'll
Yes.
get to that in a bit.
Yes. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like,
Exactly. Right.
I,
Yeah.
I feel that's intentional. I feel that this is
I was
intentional.
thinking. I was thinking that. Yeah.
Yeah. But and well, when the trailer dropped last month actually, right? I was like, all right, black and white again. The style of it have a sort of marriage story style to it, where it's this couple and they're quarreling, but there has to be more to it than that, right? But I was not blown away by the trailer for it, but I was like, yo, this should look impressive, you know what I mean? But
Right.
what it is about in a nutshell, yeah, in a nutshell, right? It's about, well, this couple, Malcolm, Elliot, who is played by John David Washington. He is a screenwriter slash director, and he just comes. He will basically, it takes place during the course of a long night, right? So comes home from this film premiere. He's with his girlfriend Marie Jones, played by Zendaya,
Right.
and he's all really excited. You know what I mean? As I imagine many directors are after they get a great reception from showing your film, right? So he's in this high right now. You know what I mean? He just wants to kick back and relax, and he's with this. He's with his girl now. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah,
Right.
you know what I mean? We're happy, right? But she, on the other hand, is not happy, right? And then we learn that he pretty much based the film on her life, because we
Right.
learn through the conversation that she was this recovering drug addict, and it was rough for her, you know what I mean, just getting over drugs and whatnot. But she's sober, right? And she really, well, she has Malcolm to thank for that, right? So she owes a lot to him, right? So he kind of based the film around her, even though he called the character Imani and saying, well, it's based off of, and we learn this later on, my other girlfriends, right? And they were similarly damaged like you, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just these characters, well, sorry, there's these two characters basically going back and forth. Like ever so often, it would be this elongated argument. Oftentimes, it's just, all right, I love these little, you know, um, these little flaws about you, all that kind of stuff. And it's clear that they know each other, we top to bottom. They know their weaknesses and their strengths, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Right.
But yet still there will be a moment where something is revealed and it's like, well, what do you mean? And it just kind of leads to this bickering back and forth, right? And yeah, essentially that's what we get here in this film, which is, and oh, by the way, while all this kind of sounds like more drama than romance, you do get a romantic moment here and there between the two of
Right.
them. Nothing too explicit, but it's there. You could feel the connection between the two of them, right? But yeah, mainly it's just these two just trying to sort each other out, just wondering, why am I in this relationship? What's in it for me? Why do I still have feelings for this guy or for this girl who just would rip me to shreds? You know what I mean, at a moment's notice. And yeah, that's what Malcolm and Maria is about. So Ricardo, honest opinion on this movie here.
I personally loved it. Two of them just hold it together. It's a great little bottle film, and I had a ton of fun with it. Like it was I really wish I saw this in theaters because the whole time I could imagine, the audience are projecting my head of who our teeth would just be like, woo.
Yeah.
They're
Woo!
like,
Yeah.
whoa. The whole time I
Yeah.
think, it's the Mortal Kombat or it's the Mortal Kombat audience, eh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I thought it was great. And what I liked about it is how introspective it was when it comes to Malcolm himself. Like clearly, it's a filmmaker jab thing, right? Because it's him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, he is so incredibly insufferable. But at the same time, you get that he's brilliant, eh? But he's so incredibly insufferable. And what I like about it is that it started with him being, well, effectively drunk, right? A goddamn
Yes.
alcoholic. I thought that the film would have addressed that, where he probably himself has a little bit of a drinking problem. Um, but I like that what it did with it in terms of just him just getting called out for he bullshit. I love that. It was surprisingly smart. Let us be clear about it. Yeah? Zendaya is a treasure. She's like really good, though. And
Oh
I
yeah.
was
If we get any name wrong, I mean it's Zendaya. I
I
say
think
potato
it's Zendaya.
potato.
I think it's Zendaya. I think it's Zendaya.
Right.
But the two of them were really good together. I never liked John David Washington's acting until this. Like I like him kind of in Tenet, but he was kind of flat in Tenet. I kind of like him in Black
He's kind of
Klansman.
outshining Tenet, to be
Well,
honest.
yeah, that too. Eh?
Yeah.
And I thought he was
Like,
a
like
little
like like look at that scene with him and Michael oh gosh, I get any name wrong, but
Michael Caine.
yeah, Michael Keane, like
Right.
there's a one scene with him just like whoa.
Yeah. No, but I thought he was a little flat also in Black Klansman, but in this I thought he was great. Like he was like absolutely like it's one of those, I was calling it the tailor-made moment where they clearly fit the kind of person he might really be, and they do a great job with it, Dread. As usual, he channeling the father, as usual.
Oh boy, like,
Yeah,
especially when
yeah,
he argues,
yeah,
you could hear his dad
yeah,
voice, boy. Oh my god,
yeah, yeah, for real. Eh? As I say, when you close your eyes, you think it's your father, right?
you know.
Uh no, but
I bet even his father, is like proud, like, yeah, that's my boy,
yeah,
that's my
yeah,
boy.
for real. Eh? No, but I thought I really had a lot of fun with this because it's like, way boy, this is all cutting deep dread. Because the thing is, it's more what I like about it is the whole what it did really well is the whole exploitation of someone else's narrative. I really like that. Very few people talk about that. I don't know what to call it, but it's a kind of narrative injustice where other people can. It's not that you don't get to tell your story, and it's not that other people tell your story incorrectly, or other people bury your story, or other people tell your story in a bad way, or to make you look in a bad light. As I say, um, history undermines. History get to tell the story, right? It's the Joss Whedon problem, right? Other people get to tell your story in the way you wanted to tell it, but because they're in a position of effectively power, they get to tell the story, even though they tell it in a good way, in the way you wanted to tell it. There's someone else might tell it in a better way, but they still do it justice, and that in itself is a kind of injustice. And I love how Marie brings that up. How because of her life, because she's suffering from the drug problem. Again, you're wondering if it's a follow up of the character. Is the character from Euphoria grew up a little bit? Um, and I love that they get into that aspect of someone else telling your story. And I myself have placed myself in that position of me being a storyteller. I am a black man. So yes, black people suffer. But I'm also a cisgendered man and I'm also a straight man. So therefore I have a ton of advantages. And then where I live in Trinidad, I am the advantaged person. I'm very wealthy, relatively wealthy, I should say, stonks and whatnot and Bitcoin and all that bullshit. And I have all this free time on my life. And I the only thing that I'm not in terms of storytelling, the only thing I'm not engaged in is other people's stories, and the mere novelty of other people's stories is illustrative of that. Sorry for rambling, right? Apologies.
No, no, it's right, that's right.
Right, but you get my point, right? Is you get to tell its own personal story, and I've had moral indignation about that. Where so I like in my sci-fi novel, it have a couple of transgendered characters, for example. But I'm not transgendered. right?
Yeah.
Why would I tell this person's story? I have no working narrative of that. The only reason I know about transgender people is my own research and ContraPoints videos, right? And well
Right.
now,
Right.
and now Abigail Thorne's videos, right? That's the
Yeah.
only reason I know about transgendered people. But I'm not
But
transgender.
it's not to say that you don't have the you don't have the right to incorporate
Right.
transgender
Right.
characters into your
Exactly.
story because
Right.
you haven't struggled like them, you know. Like I
Exactly.
understand, yeah.
And it's not that you cancel a person for that or anything like that. It's not, but it is a very, let us call it, insidious form of exploitation where you get to control someone else's stories. I love that she brought that up. I don't know if this is by intention by the screenwriter, but this was absolutely brilliant in my opinion of bringing that in terms of a character perspective of a person. The idea of what kind of, like, you have the last type of, I don't know what it is, but this is the type of storyteller that we have to call out. Where, and again, I like that we talk about Joss Whedon because Joss Whedon kind of like that, where he himself has been behind the scenes very abusive to women, right? And let's admit it's mostly women. I've not heard a single man complain. All I heard is that something about James Masters that had a whole situation who played Spike in Buffy and Angel. Um, but it's mostly women. But he himself also had narratives about women, and he himself pushed women's narratives forward. So how you feel about that? And that is a weird, like, high wire act that a certain type of, I would like to call it liberal man or leftist man or progressive man have to contend with. I myself have to put myself in that position of, is the Hugh Hefner argument, right? Was Hugh Hefner a good feminist? Yes or no? Right? A lot of people will tell you yes, a lot of people will tell you no. But
Right, right.
it's a time and place argument, right? Or like a liberal like Bill Maher. Bill Maher, again, dragged for his opinions nowadays. But Bill Maher is effectively a very good liberal in the time he existed, right? Because of what he represented at the time. You don't have any control over that narrative, right? And I love that the film did that. He, as a filmmaker, the type of story he's trying to tell him, but he himself taking advantage and being exploitative. I don't think abusive, although he's very verbally abusive, and we'll get into that. And I like that they're getting to that aspect of it. He himself is very verbally abusive, but there's a really good sense of introspection in this script. I have no idea what the filmmaker thinks or who the person is, like in terms of like who wrote it. But I was absolutely impressed by the John David Washington's characterization in this, and I absolutely loved that. That aspect of him, and just digging into his characterization and dragging him and what she does, because nothing about her really gets into that. There's one moment that I thought was great though, that humanizes her and brings her down a notch, but it still works. Is when she
Hmm.
was like mad about um she was mad about not casting her.
Yes, yes.
I love that because
Yeah,
that's
and
good too. Because
I love the timing of when that came in, by the
yes,
way. Yeah.
yes,
You're just
yes,
like, okay, but really, what gave you so pissed though? And then what you say,
right,
like,
right.
oh,
And I love that they did that because it also frames her as being very human. She dragging him and she coming for a position of judgment, but she do it for a very petty and ostensibly very material reason. I like that. It doesn't make her this magic angel person and this perfect victim. It makes her very human, but it makes her also come from a good place. And from a script writing standpoint, this is so damn good. It's one of the best bottle films I've ever seen in a long time. The last time I just rate up a bottle episode or a bottle film is the episode of DS9 Duet. Like, it's that level of, like, you just have a house, you just have two people, and you just have two people just going at it in terms of their emotions and feelings and behavior about the story, and that's it. And it's an absolutely wonder. Great black and white, great use of what do you call it, chiaroscuro.
yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
yeah, just good shadows, good use of lighting and framing. Camera moves in simple ways. It's great filmmaking, and it's simple, Judd, and it's just a great story that builds from there. And I just was so engrossed the entire time. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, so
By the way, as you can tell, I've had 2 glasses of wine, so yeah, that why I rambled a little more than I should. I shouldn't do this, but
yeah,
whatever.
no. But a show like this though needs to be discussed, right? So
Right,
I'll just
right,
get this out of the way, right? There will be people who will not like this. There are people already
right,
who kind of criticizing the film because of how it's written, right?
right,
I understand why, right? So yes, these two characters, it's just the two of them. They're the only two sides of the show. Yes, they bicker, they quarrel. There's a lot of arguments involved, right? yes, I know for some people this will get them on their nerves. You'll be like, okay, so what's the point? I'm just watching two characters just cuss each other out. And
Right,
oh, by the
right.
way, for y'all like conservative viewers, there's a lot of f bombs being thrown in this to like ridiculous amount. Though, like I was like, wow, okay, but it works.
Right.
So it works
Right,
in
right, right,
terms
right,
of
right,
just
right,
the
right, right,
level
right.
of. But I will lie though, it was some CC level kind of shit though, which is a
Right,
compliment, right? But
right.
yeah, I mean, I would understand why people would dig into it. But I like, all right. So for me, I would say I'm some big expert as far as relationships and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I've had my experience here or there. I kind of tend to avoid being in situations where I could tell that the person, the significant other, is toxic, right? But here they frame it in such a way that in a way they both are, or it kind of brings the toxicity out of each other in a sense.
Yes.
But at the same time, when you take it, but why is she with him? You know, what I mean? That's me the question. Like, why is she
Right,
with him? Or why a guy like him who is so well established, quote unquote, and knows so much? Why he choose this person? And then there's
yeah,
this great moment where I said where he was talking about what inspired the Imani character. And like,
right.
oh, he's attracted to these kind of like damaged, women,
Yes.
right?
I know. Here's the
But
thing, because
at the
no,
same time, you're just like, but why do? But
no, no,
isn't that true of like most relationships too? Is that
no, no,
true
no.
of most people?
What I like about it is because I myself have I don't so I don't think I attracted to damaged women or anything like that. That is not the argument. But I am attracted to a story, right? I want a novel story,
Right.
and what makes a story interesting. That's what I liked about it. It's very meta in that way, where
Yeah.
it gets into a story, and you focus on a person for a while. But you see, here's the insidious part, and this is why I myself I myself feel a little guilty about this. That ultimately, I don't think I'm helping these people, right?
Right.
Like I have like every time I write a script or write a story or something like that, it's all about always about a person I don't necessarily know personally, but it's almost at the same time you're not really solving their problems, and you're just making I don't know what to call it, but it's almost like a kind of narrative masturbation, where it's just pleasuring yourself on the suffering of another person. And
Right.
that's what I liked about this, that she calls him out on that. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I thought it was really, really brilliant in that sense. And it's a subtle thing, but it's still
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. It is. Right. So, so I would understand for some people, they might just find this to be a drag or just be like, what
Right.
was the point of all this, right? But as someone who, honestly, once again, just don't do every single thing when it comes to relationships. This felt like just one of the most realistic depictions of what a relationship is, right? Because remember,
Right.
at the end of the day, it's a partnership. It's you have to support the other person. You have to deal with their bullshit and vice versa, and that's how it is, right? But it could be to the point where it's like, all right, this is too much for me, or you cross the line, or this is
I
or you gone too far. I have to leave. But at the same time, what the show frames so well is that you can kind of tell why they in it, right? So
no,
in a
what
sense, one second, in a sense, the
yeah.
show leaves it up to you to ask, do they really need each other? Do they deserve each
Right.
other?
Right.
I would say yes, or I would say
Right.
they're doing the best that they can
No, so two things.
to be in the relationship. Because in my opinion, they could have just like left. They could have just left each other. But then again,
Right.
that's not what the show is about, right?
No,
But
no,
yeah.
right. So two things I thought was kind of brilliant. One, it was a incredibly plausible argument, because I remember somebody, I
Yes.
forget who
Yes.
it was,
Yes.
who said it, that the film was too long, and I was like, no, how it's supposed to
Really.
be. It's like that's how an argument plays out.
Well, what they
It
felt it was like what could have been an hour and a half or something,
or
and
something
then
like
when I
that,
say,
right?
but that too short.
It wrap up right. No, but what I liked about it is that what it did really well is that it framed a very plausible argument. When you're arguing with somebody, you're not remembering every point, and then at the same time you're also trying to disingenuously weaponize everything they do, and you'll forget something and you have a little bit of staircase wit. So you'll like 5 minutes later you'll come back and say, hey, I remember this thing, and then you'll try to like contrive an argument to get them back, and you walk back in the room and so on and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
forth. That's what I loved about
that's
it.
how human beings argue. I mean, that's what we
Second
do.
thing, second thing, it's not an entirely toxic relationship. At no point I looked at this relationship and think, nah boy, them not supposed to be together. Like I understand why they're together and why they make these decisions about each other. At no point I feel, way boy, she terrible for him or he terrible for her. like, yeah, it's a bad night, and yes, he is drunk. Let's be clear about that. That's why a big factor, a reason. Like, so nobody have a clear head here, but at the same time, they're not that bad for each other. Like they know how to cool down with each other. They know how to de-escalate when the time is right, and then their emotions crop back up again. And that's why it works. It's such a great, simple dynamic, but it works so well. It's works so well. So
Yeah,
yeah, right,
yeah.
yeah.
Right. So and last thing in terms of criticisms that other people have with this, right? So I can imagine a lot of couples watching this and just feel a little uncomfortable, like I don't want to be like them, or we just really argue like this. So
Right.
thank God we don't argue to that degree because I know everything about you and all that kind of stuff, right? But no, this is just a portrait. This is just about these two characters. It's not so much that you have to put yourself into Malcolm or Marie. It's just one night seeing these two characters kind of bicker and figure things out.
Right.
And for what it's worth, yeah, this worked for me as well. I don't love it at the moment though, but this is
Right.
one of those movies that I feel with more viewings I really grew to appreciate now, especially with the screenplay, which for some odd reason is being criticized. But once again, I understand why, because of like the thing is like surface level people just think, oh, it's just a movie about this couple just try to pick any and everything out of their ass and from their minds and whatnot and
Right.
using
Right.
that
Right.
as
Right.
weapons to cut each other down to side. But no, it's not exactly that shit. It's way deeper than that. I love the meta take on it, especially with Malcolm just being so knowledgeable about film. I made this joke on Facebook. The good review rant is basically him reading
I
this
absolutely love that
LA
movie
Times
too.
review
Yeah.
rant is one of the best moments of this
That-
entire film. I was
yeah.
cracking up at it. And I was
Yeah.
watching, it's like, this is how I imagine a character would be, Joe, where someone who don't 100% get the film, but still giving you a good review,
That
still piss this
I
guy off. And how
listen.
John went off in that scene,
I
I was
totally
like, all right, well, what I think, I would say, because, okay, so the talk is there's going to be some Oscar buzz around this, right? It
right.
being two characters, two actors, the simple setting, all that kind of stuff. It's an Oscar beaty kind of film, kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. A little bit. Yeah.
So I
Right.
feel that one moment could be like, yeah, we gotta get John something, We gotta nominate
Well,
John Jett. I think that
listen.
one moment I was like,
If it
yeah,
wasn't, if
yeah,
it's there, if it wasn't for our next movie we got a review, I would agree with you. Eh?
yeah. But I mean,
Um.
he was killing it before,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
No,
that
but
but that one moment I was like, this is brilliant. It's funny, it's
yeah.
cynical, it's dark,
Yes.
and I just love it, everything about it. And this one I think, okay, he done all right. No, he keeps going and going.
Yes.
I'm like, God
What I like
damn,
about
shit,
what I like
how we
about it is
going
that
off like this?
yeah, the what I like about it is that it's very plausible that yeah, we hear about the quote unquote black backhanded compliment, but from your perspective, like the person being good, but you reading it as a backhanded compliment, and I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that it did that. He totally like don't give we have no charitability to this reviewer,
Yeah,
and
a white
I
reviewer, mind you. Eh?
right, it's a white
Yeah,
woman, it's a whole thing, and he brings it all in, and that's what I like about it. It's this kind of borderline pseudo victimhood. What I like about it, they get mad about the one thing that he legitimately is concerned about, whether or not he's mediocre or talented. I love that. A little small thing, but it's a
yeah,
big for a lot of people like that, especially. And I like how because he's a black director as well now. It's like,
yeah,
well, a black director, but you're mediocre, so it still have that. Yeah, I don't want to call it, but the France Fanon blackface white mask stuff, right?
right.
You're still internalizing mediocrity, and you're not allowed to be mediocre. So that's like a big deal for him now. I love all these little small
Yeah,
things. All these
yeah,
little
yeah,
small
yeah.
things.
So let's just wrap it up. Don't worry, we're gonna wrap it, right? But yeah, though, that moment was great, though. Just the acting level that they brought to the table, though, was
Right.
fantastic, Jed.
Yeah.
Zendaya, she really impressed me as well, though. At first, I thought that she was going to kind of buckle under the weight of, John, but nah,
Right.
she held her own too, boy. And you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was brave of her to even be in this film. Like not seeing this some overly challenging role for her, right? But you could tell that she drew a lot from herself too, because yeah, when she got emotional, she got emotional. When she was
Yeah.
cocky, she was cocky. When she was pissed off, you really felt that though. And with John, well, he challenged, he pops, so you always you get the swag ever so
What?
often though, but you
Okay.
get
So
the oh, you emasculating me. All right, I could come back for it. There's a moment
right.
with,
No,
for
the one.
example, with her in a bathtub, right? And
You're right.
he just come
Right.
hit she, boom, 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 right?
Right.
Then leaves the room and then comes back and then
You're right.
boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom again,
Yeah.
thread. And she
Yeah.
like not even saying nothing. It's just
No.
one tear run down, and then she come back like, nah,
Right.
I go fuck
Right.
you up now. Boom, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. What I like about it, it has that plausibility to it, and what it was interesting too is the age dynamic, because I remember a lot of people some
Right.
people are
Well, if because they're roughly 12 years apart from each other, and
right, but
yeah,
that
well, what at first going into this, I was like, well, I hope they don't make this thing too too apparent, basically. But that's why I imagine
that
maybe it's I guess it's a decision behind the scenes
no
why yes,
that
when you do get together, it's not
yeah
anything too overly sexual. I'd say that.
no, but that fed into the narrative, because it's like, well, he know as a person, you're really sure what going on see internally in terms of like, well, why would you pick this girl, why she's so young. Brother, I myself have been in situations like this where I was like, I really like this girl so and so, and I didn't ask you her age or anything like that. It's not like no underage shit or anything like that. None of that bullshit. But
No, 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 no.
it's like she just say or do certain things, and you yourself as a guy your age is like, wait boy, like really you're supposed to be with this girl though? I nothing illegal,
Yeah,
but
no, no. It happens. It happens.
it's a
It
weird
even
it's a
happened
weird thing.
to me to accept.
I
Yeah.
have been in situations like this myself, where it's like,
Mm.
wait, but this girl kind of too young for you, and it's not because of the law. That's not the issue. Nothing morally gross about it or anything like that. But
Right.
it's just weird. And it's something I
Yeah.
always had a problem with growing up as a kid. Like, it's like, hey, this girl kind of young for you. Like, once you're, like, for me, my rule of thumb was the 4 years apart thing. If you're 4 years apart, rule of thumb, high school. If you're not,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you're in high school and the person not in high school, that's a problem.
All
Like,
right,
that's a
mine is 5 and up, but yours
right,
4. Okay, okay,
around 4 or 5, right, exactly,
right.
around that. And my attitude is that if you can't talk about the same things, there's a whole issue. And I love that this kind of did that, right? It's like, well, she's suffering from drug issues, but he exploiting that a little bit, and it's a really
Yes.
subtle, not gaslighting, but it's a subtle form of exploitation. And I love that they get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, well, I'm gonna
Right.
give
So that's the roads up. That's the roads up because there's just so much to talk
right,
about, right? So the
right,
movie that they keep comparing this to is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, right?
right,
I
right,
don't think I ever saw that film before. I know it's a classic. I really should
right,
watch it, right? And then maybe when I watch it, I'm like, oh, that's where they get it from because the black and white
right.
photography, which by the way looks excellent, though. And yeah, they shot it at 35 millimeter, which would explain the grainy look, but I think it works too. But in terms of cinematography, the lighting was excellent, in my opinion.
Yep.
The framing of shots and just the slight camera movement. There's a great opening scene basically with John, you know what I mean, basically singing the song, and you see
Right.
Zendaya outside smoking a cigarette, and the camera just moves to the left and just keeps moving to the
Yep.
right slowly, right? I love that. Just those little decisions. The guy who directed it and wrote it, Sam Levinson, sorry, he's the guy who created Euphoria. And just off of this
Right.
movie, I'm like, yeah, I need to watch Euphoria. I need to check his other workout because I thought that
Right.
he did a great job here. But the beauty of the show though is just how deep it goes and just how it shows this really complex relationship between the two of them. So yes, at first glance you might think, well, it's just them arguing and that's the show. Like no, it goes way deeper than that. And for me, I know it more views and just me digging in deep into the characterization. Because that's what the show nails near flawlessly, in my opinion, the characterization where there's so much being said, so much things not being said, right? Where in more viewings, I imagine, yeah, it will just be more and more clear to me. And at the end of the day,
Right.
it just shows just how complex and fiery and chaotic, what I mean, just being a relationship is, just what love is, right? And that's the intention of this movie, and I think that they just nailed it, right?
Right.
So at the end of the day, I see this showing up in my top, 10 for the year, for sure. And I would love to see this show up. I think like people giving it a hard time now, but I think like over the next few months when more people check
Yeah.
it out and stuff, I think more people will acclimatize it and it will show up at our best stuff for sure. As
I
far as Oscars, if it get nominated, I'll be happy. I don't want to I like all right, I don't want to do the Green Book thing where it's like, oh, here's this critical
no, yeah,
now
nah,
that's
not
basically a
like that.
remake of another film. Like, no, no,
Right.
no, no, no. But it has to get nominated for something. If not best actor or actress, give it to like or at least they get a best cinematography or whatnot, right? But yeah, to me, this show is a real deal. Yeah, it may be a little rough to sit through though, but it's just the complexity of it, and that's really what the show deals. So rating wise, I'm going with a strong 4 to 5, man. And I have a
Right.
feeling that with the more viewings are given, this could bump up to a light or a decent 4.5 out of 5. But yes, this is the big deal. I would say this is not a Valentine's Day film at all, but it's one
Yeah.
that, whether you're in a relationship or not, or like me, single, you could still watch it and still be like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like this is like the kind of stuff you'll have to deal with, and it kind of forces you to kind of look at yourself as a person and be like,
Right.
okay, like what am I really bringing into a relationship and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I thought, and by the way, last thing, John and Zendaya, they killed it. Do the chemistry on screen, just the way how they just do these scenes, these long takes, excellent in my opinion. Do I mean the future is bright for both of them, especially Zendaya when it comes to these dramatic roles and all that. And yeah, I mean this is the real deal for me. So go in, just go in, kind of keep your expectations low, but don't look at it like, oh, it's just a show about two people arguing. It's
Right.
way deeper than that, man. So yeah, last thoughts and rating on Malcolm and Marie.
Yeah. For me, rating, I give it like a 9 out of 10. I thought it was surprisingly introspective. I think it's one of those things that just kind of hit close to home. So there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
I
and as I say, close to home though, just Malcolm being a filmmaker and reacting the way he does
you
though.
know,
I was watching this like, I hope I don't be like that tonight. I
you
hope
know,
that my wife to be understands why I'm making film and I'm gonna, wait till the night of the premiere when we come home and rip me to shreds because of what I do,
right. No, that was all. I just felt it just did such a great job with a lot of that. And yeah. So 9 out of 10 from me. This was just truly excellent in my opinion.
All right, nice.